All right, diving in. Today, we're all about Mel Robbins and this let them theory from her 2024 book. You know the one.
Oh, the let them theory.
It really seems to be resonating with people.
It is.
This idea of accepting what you can't control and leaning into, well, what you can.
You've got it. That's the core.
And I think a lot of folks are turning to this book because, well, honestly, because Mel Robbins is just so relatable, you know?
Right. She doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
Not at all. Like right out of the gate, she talks about being 41, deep in debt.
Yeah, $800,000 in debt.
Yeah. Career's a mess.
Feeling lost.
And feeling totally stuck, like she's the only one.
Comparing herself to friends, thinking everyone else has it figured out.
It's like she's saying, hey, I've been there too.
Yeah, and that resonates, I think, no matter what your own situation is.
For sure. So this whole let them theory, how does it even come about? There's got to be like a turning point in her story.
There is. It starts with her discovering this thing she calls the 5-second rule.
5-second rule.
Yeah. Basically, you count down from 5 to 1, and then you take action, whatever it is you've been putting off.
Sounds pretty simple.
It is.
It's simple.
But Robin says this is what helped her beat procrastination and anxiety.
Okay.
And that eventually becomes the foundation of the whole let them theory.
Hold on. How does a countdown, like, tackle those really big things?
Well, that's where the let them theory kicks in.
Okay.
The 5-second rule, it's about taking action even when you're scared or unsure.
Right.
It's about recognizing that you have a choice.
You always have a choice.
Yeah, even if it's just a tiny step.
So it's about shifting that focus from, oh my God, everything's out of control, to what's one small thing I can do right now?
Exactly. That's where the let them part starts.
Okay, break it down for me.
Robbins uses this analogy, a seesaw.
A seesaw. All right.
Imagine you're on one side, weighed down by everything you can't control, other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Unforeseen events.
Like that flat tire this morning.
The past, all that stuff.
Oh, I can feel the weight already.
Right. And that side, that's the let them side.
So I'm guessing there's another side to this seesaw.
Of course. The other side is the let me side.
Let me.
Okay. This is where you focus on your reactions, what you choose to do, your actions.
So less about what's happening in me and more about how I choose to handle it.
Okay.
Not about ignoring the external stuff.
Right.
It's acknowledging it, but saying, okay, it is what it is, but I don't have to let it control how I feel.
Exactly.
Robbins has a great story about this. I think it was her son's prom night, right?
Yeah, prom night, total chaos. They're running late, and then it starts pouring.
Oh, no. The hair, the dresses.
Every mom's worst nightmare.
Well, her first instinct was to, try to fix it, control the situation.
I feel that.
But then, light bulb moment.
What, she figured out how to make it stop raining?
Nope. She realized you can't control the weather.
Easier said than done in the moment, though, right?
It is, especially when it's your kids. Right. You want everything to be perfect for them.
She describes this inner battle, but eventually, she just accepts it.
The rain is going to rain.
Exactly. Gives her son money for tacos and sends him off with a smile.
Wow. That's kind of beautiful, you know. But what about her own stress in that moment?
Oh, she talks about that. She says this feeling of relief just washed over her.
Just from letting go.
Yeah. By surrendering control, she could actually be present with her son, enjoy the moment.
That's powerful.
It is.
So it's not just about accepting, like, the facts of the situation.
Right.
It's also about that emotional freedom that comes with it.
Exactly. And that brings us to the let me part.
Right. Let me.
It's not enough to just, passively accept everything.
Right.
It's also about taking action, intentional action.
So both let them and let me are working together.
They have to. It's about finding that balance between acceptance and empowerment.
Got it. And Robbins gives an example about this balance, something about a friend's trip.
Yeah, she felt excluded, left out.
Friend drama, the worst.
At first, she spiraled, negative thoughts, feeling awful.
And there.
But then she made this conscious choice to shift to let me.
Let me. So instead of dwelling on the exclusion,
She focused on her own needs.
I like that.
Yeah, she decided to nurture her other friendships, create new connections.
So investing in relationships that actually brought her joy.
Exactly.
That's a great example of how let them can lead to let me, and then lead to creating a life you actually love, even when things, don't go according to plan.
It's recognizing you have the power to choose your response.
You always have a choice.
Yes. Even when things are hard.
And this kind of ties into stress management, right?
Oh, definitely. Stress is a huge part of the book.
Because Doesn't everybody struggle with stress? I mean,
we all do.
It's the universal experience, right?
It is. But the let them theory helps us see the root cause of stress and how we can, interrupt those stress responses.
Okay, so not just deep breaths and meditation.
No, it's deeper than that.
All right, I'm ready for the science lesson.
Okay, so Robbins uses the airport as an example.
The airport.
Yeah, she calls it the ultimate stress test.
Oh, I agree. Delayed flights, crowds.
Lost luggage.
It's like a breeding ground for anxiety.
Exactly. You're surrounded by triggers, and it feels like everything's out of your control.
Which it often is at the airport.
Right. So what happens in our brains when we get stressed? Well, we shift from the thinking part of our brain.
The prefrontal cortex.
Yes. To the more primal survival part, the amygdala.
So we're not thinking clearly.
No, we're in fight or flight mode.
So that's why things feel so overwhelming when we're stressed.
Exactly. And that's where the let them theory comes in.
How so?
By accepting that we can't control external factors.
The delays, the crowds.
Right. We can interrupt that stress response.
We can choose a different response.
Yes. A more empowering one.
So it's not about suppressing those feelings.
No.
It's about recognizing them.
Understanding where they're coming from.
And then consciously choosing a more helpful way to react.
That's it.
I like that. Taking back control.
Yes, even when things feel chaotic.
So deep breaths do have a place here.
They do. Robbins actually talks about Dr. Aditi Nirkar, a stress expert.
Okay.
And she recommends deep breathing to activate the vagus nerve.
Which calms the nervous system down.
Exactly.
So it's like a bridge between let them, accepting the things you can't change.
And let me.
Taking action to calm your inner world.
Yes, finding that balance.
Love it.
And this balance applies to everything. Personal challenges,
right.
Career stuff.
Speaking of careers.
Yeah.
Let's say you're stuck in a job, terrible boss.
I've been there.
You're desperate for a promotion.
Yeah.
Does Robbins say just, let him walk all over you?
Actually, she's pretty tough in this scenario.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on changing your boss.
Which you probably can't.
Exactly. She says, let them string you along while you focus on finding a better opportunity.
I like that. So you're not stuck.
You're not.
You have the power to create the career you want.
You do. Update your resume, network, go on interviews.
Taking charge.
Exactly.
Shifting that focus from what's frustrating you
right.
to what you can actually do about it.
And recognizing that your happiness at work, it's your responsibility, not your boss's.
That's a tough pill to swallow for some people.
It can be.
But it's true, though, right? You can't rely on someone else to make you happy.
Absolutely.
And this whole idea of taking ownership, that leads us to, I think, one of the biggest challenges we face today. Self-doubt.
Oh, especially in the age of social media.
Right. The comparison trap.
It's everywhere.
You're constantly bombarded with images of everyone else's seemingly perfect lives.
Yeah. Robbins is really honest about her own struggles with social media, that fear of judgment, feeling like it's never good enough.
That pressure to present this perfect image, I think everyone feels that.
We do. So she says, let them think what they want.
Whoa.
Don't try to control other people's perceptions.
Right.
Focus on, let me express myself authentically.
So accepting that you can't control what other people think.
Right.
But you can control how you choose to express yourself.
And recognizing that those judgments, they say more about them than they do about you.
That's true.
So why give them that power?
Right. Giving yourself permission to be you, flaws and all.
Yes.
Not letting the fear of judgment, stifle you.
Exactly. Real freedom comes from letting go of that need for external validation.
All this talk about letting go makes me think about family, too.
Oh, family relationships.
That's going to be the toughest.
They can. Long-held expectations, sometimes a feeling of entitlement to opinions.
And those opinions can really hurt.
They can.
Especially when they come from people you love.
Exactly. It can be hard to set boundaries with family, it is.
So what does let them theory say about all this?
Robbins acknowledges it's tough, but she says, try to understand the other person's perspective.
Their frame of reference?
Yes. She talks about her own mom disapproving of her husband.
Oh, that's got to be hard.
It was.
Your mom not liking the person you love.
Yeah. But instead of getting defensive or trying to change your mom's mind,
right,
she tried to understand where that disapproval was coming from.
So not taking it personally.
Right. And what she realized was her mom's disapproval wasn't about judgment. It was about fear.
Fear of losing her.
Exactly. Fear of losing her daughter.
Wow, that's insightful. So by understanding her mom's perspective, she could let go of that resentment.
And they could build a stronger relationship.
That's a good reminder that, sometimes even when family members say things that hurt,
right,
their intentions might actually be good.
They might just be coming from a different place.
But sometimes it's not just about misunderstandings, right?
Of course not.
Sometimes there are real differences in values and perspectives.
And that can cause a lot of friction.
So what then? Do you just cut those people out of your life?
Not necessarily. Robbins says, let them be who they are.
Okay.
Focus on let me build my own support system.
So finding fulfillment outside of those family dynamics.
Yes. Taking responsibility for your own well-being.
Not relying on your family to meet all your needs.
Exactly. It's about setting healthy boundaries.
And recognizing that their limitations are not a reflection on you.
Exactly.
And that's a great segue into, another big topic that I think a lot of us struggle with.
What's that?
Comparison.
Ah, yes. The never-ending comparison game.
Especially in the age of social media.
It's hard to escape.
So easy to get caught up in feeling like you're not enough.
Robbins uses this great analogy. She says life's like a card game.
Okay, I like analogies.
We need to focus on playing our hand well, not on the cards other people have.
Because you can't control what cards you're dealt.
Exactly. But you can control how you play them.
And that's where the let them theory comes in, right?
It does.
Instead of seeing other people's success as a threat, choose to see it as inspiration.
Let them succeed.
Can actually empower
your own. Let me. She gives an example of an interior designer named Molly.
Right.
And Molly gets super jealous because this person with zero experience starts posting about design online.
Oh, and gets a ton of followers.
Tons.
Okay.
And Molly's like, wait, I've been doing this for years.
It's so easy to get discouraged when that happens.
It is. But Robbins challenges Molly to reframe the situation.
So instead of feeling threatened,
she
can learn from this person.
Maybe even refine her own approach.
Yeah.
And focus on building her own brand.
It's about turning that comparison into fuel for growth.
Exactly. There's enough room for everyone to succeed.
Right. Abundance mindset, not scarcity.
Yes.
And it's a reminder that by letting go of that need to compete, we can actually celebrate each other's wins.
And support each other's journeys.
And speaking of journeys, let's talk about friendships.
Adult friendships.
Yeah. Because those can get kind of complicated.
They do. Robbins talks about this thing called the great scattering.
The great scatter.
Yeah, as we get older, life gets busy, priorities shift, and friendships change.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's natural, but it's hard to navigate sometimes.
It is. Especially if you're still holding on to, expectations from your younger years.
Right. That's where the 3 pillars of adult friendships come in.
3 pillars. Okay, lay it on me.
Proximity, timing, and energy.
Right. Proximity, how close you live to each other.
Exactly. It's harder to stay close when you're not physically near each other.
Out of sight, out of mind, as they say.
It's true. And then timing.
Timing.
Yeah. Being in similar life stages, having shared interests.
So, if one person is super career-focused and the other one is starting a family,
it can be harder to connect.
Makes sense.
And then energy.
What does that mean?
The vibe you bring to the friendship.
Okay.
Are you positive, supportive,
right,
or are you bringing a lot of negativity?
Drama.
Yeah. Energy is contagious.
It can make or break a friendship for sure.
Robbins actually tells a story about feeling excluded from her own friend group after a move.
Oh, wow.
And she's honest about how her own negativity played a role in that.
So it wasn't just them?
No. She was holding on to expectations, feeling resentful, and that created distance.
It's a good reminder that, we can't control how other people spend their time.
Or who they prioritize.
But we can control how we show up in our friendships.
Exactly. And that's where let them theory comes in again.
Let them have their own minds.
Focus on let me create new connections.
And nurture the ones that really matter.
Yes. It's about recognizing that friendships evolve. And that's okay.
Sometimes they fade. Sometimes they grow stronger.
But they're always a reflection of where we are in our lives.
And how we're choosing to connect with others.
It's powerful, You have the power to create a fulfilling social life.
No matter what stage of life you're in.
Yeah. It just takes intention and a willingness to embrace change.
So that's a wrap on part 1 of our deep dive into the let them theory.
We've covered a lot. Personal challenges, careers, friendships.
It all comes back to letting go.
And finding that freedom and empowerment that comes with it.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll dive into some of the maybe trickier applications of this whole let them theory.
Yes, navigating tough conversations, influencing change.
And supporting loved ones who are struggling.
It gets real.
It does. So buckle up.
And get ready for more let them theory. All right, back again, diving deeper into this let them theory.
Yeah. Part 1, we were all about letting go.
Accepting what we can't control.
But now I think things get a little more complicated, you know?
They do.
Because what about those times when we actually want to change someone's behavior?
Yeah, like how do you let them be when you really want them to do something differently?
Exactly. Like, let's say someone you love is making, I don't know, unhealthy choices.
Right.
You want to help, you want to offer advice, but
it often backfires.
It does. It's like that nagging wife trying to get her husband to lose weight.
Classic example.
But Robbins says this kind of pressure almost always backfires.
It creates resistance.
Yeah, because nobody likes to feel controlled.
Right, even if it's coming from a good place.
And it doesn't really address the why behind the behavior.
Exactly. Robbins brings in this expert, Dr. Alok Kanogia.
I think I've heard of him.
He's all about the psychology of motivation.
Okay.
And he explains that our brains, they're wired for immediate pleasure.
So like that instant gratification.
Yeah, even when we know something is better for us in the long run.
Like choosing the salad over the fries.
Exactly.
But the fries just taste so good now.
Right. It's that motivational circuitry.
So how do we work with that?
That's where Robbins introduces this tool.
Okay.
She calls it the ABC loop.
ABC loop.
Patchy. It's a 3-step process.
For what?
For influencing change without resorting to pressure or control.
Okay, less nagging, more effective communication. I'm in. What's step 1?
A is for apologize and ask.
All right, apologize for all the past nagging.
Basically, yeah. Acknowledge any pressure you've put on them.
Okay, start by admitting you were wrong.
It can really shift the dynamic.
And then ask.
Ask genuine questions to understand their perspective.
So not just telling them what you think.
Right. Really listen to their answers.
And not judge.
Exactly. Robbins suggests using the 5 whys method.
Oh, yeah. Keep asking why until you get to the root of it.
Exactly.
So going back to that husband who needs to lose weight.
Instead of nagging.
You could ask, like, how are you feeling about your health these days?
Yes. And really hear what he has to say.
Okay, step 1. Got it. What's B?
B is for back off and observe.
Oof. That sounds hard.
It is, but it's essential.
So you give them space.
You let them make their own choices, even if you don't agree.
Even if you think they're making a mistake.
It's about trusting them to figure it out.
I guess that's where the real let them comes in.
It is. You're letting go of that need to control.
And allowing them to learn from their own experiences, even the messy ones.
Exactly. It's about supporting, not fixing.
Okay, and C. What's the last step?
C is for celebrate and change.
All right, celebrate. I like that.
Celebrate any progress they make, big or small.
Acknowledge their efforts, encourage them to keep going.
Yes, focus on the positive.
Even if it's not happening as fast as you'd like.
Right, and the change part of this step is about you.
What do you mean?
Remember we talked about how behavior is contagious?
Yes, social contagion.
So if you want to see change in someone else, model the behavior you want to see.
So actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
Lead by example.
Yes. Your positive example can be a powerful motivator.
Okay, I can see how this whole ABC loop is way more effective than, like, lecturing someone.
It's about respect, connection.
And inspiring change through influence, not force.
Exactly.
So we've covered, like, personal stuff, career stuff.
Yeah.
But what about those really tough situations when someone you love is struggling with, I don't know, addiction, mental health issues?
Yeah, those are hard.
It feels impossible to just let them be in those cases.
It does, and Robbins gets that. She talks about how heartbreaking it is to watch someone you love struggle.
You want to fix it for them.
You want to rescue them from their pain.
But you can't.
You can't. And she says you can't want their recovery more than they do.
That's a tough one.
It is. And sometimes our attempts to help can actually enable those destructive behaviors.
That line between supporting and enabling, it can be blurry. So what's the alternative?
Robbins talks about Dr. Robert Waldinger.
Wait, isn't he the guy who leads that Harvard study of adult development?
He is one of the longest-running studies on happiness.
They've been following the same people for decades, right? Fascinating.
It is. And Dr. Waldinger, he says we need to let people learn from life.
Even when those lessons are painful.
Even then. Because sometimes those natural consequences, they can be a powerful motivator for change.
So tough love.
Sometimes. But it's not about being punitive.
It's about giving them the space to find their own strength.
And to learn from their mistakes.
Robbins actually shares a personal story about this, enabling her daughter's anxiety.
Yeah, she let her daughter sleep in her room every night for months because she was afraid to be alone.
It seemed kind, supportive at the time.
But Robbins realized she was actually preventing her daughter from facing her fears.
From learning to cope on her own.
Exactly.
And she talks about financial support too, right?
Yeah, sometimes tough love means cutting off financial support.
That's got to be hard, especially for parents.
It is. But sometimes it's necessary to encourage responsibility.
She tells a story about her husband's business almost going bankrupt.
Right, and his brother refused to loan him money.
Forced him to sink or swim.
And he swam.
It's a different way of supporting someone, isn't it?
It is. It's about believing in their capacity to figure it out.
Okay, so we've covered family, we've covered tough situations, but how does this whole let them theory play out in, romantic relationships?
Love, the big one.
Yeah, but if we're supposed to let them be, does that mean we just, sit back and wait for love to appear?
No, not at all. Robbins says true love is about choosing, not chasing.
Choosing, not chasing, I like that.
It's about letting go of the need for external validation.
And focusing on building something real, something based on mutual respect.
Exactly. And she has this really important piece of advice.
Okay, hit me.
Pay attention to actions, not words.
Because people can say all the right things.
They can.
But their actions might tell a different story.
Exactly. Robbins encourages having honest conversations about commitment and expectations early on.
Oh, those can be awkward conversations.
They can, but they're so important.
She even provides a script for these conversations, right?
She does. Inspired by Matthew Hussey, the relationship expert.
Okay, I might need to check that out.
It's about being clear about what you want.
And not wasting time on relationships that aren't aligned.
Exactly. Yeah. Choosing love, not settling.
But even in the best relationships,
there
are going to be challenges, right? Differences in opinions, different wants.
Of course. Robbins uses the example of wanting children.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It is. Or location where you want to live.
Those are tough to compromise on.
They are. And sometimes, despite our best efforts, relationships just don't work out.
Breakups. Ouch.
Yeah, they're painful. Robbins talks about allowing ourselves to grieve.
Okay.
Leaning on our support system, filling our calendars with things we love.
So distract yourself a little.
In a healthy way, yeah. And envisioning a future where this heartbreak actually leads to greater happiness.
So trusting that even though it hurts now, it's going to be okay in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
That even endings can be beginnings in disguise.
That's a good way to look at it. It's about embracing the whole human experience, the ups and downs, the messy stuff.
Yeah, all of it.
That's the beauty of the let them theory, I think.
It's not about avoiding the hard stuff.
It's about acknowledging it.
And finding ways to navigate it with grace and resilience.
Trusting that we have the strength to handle whatever life throws our way.
We do.
This has been, a really thought-provoking exploration of the let them theory.
It's a powerful idea.
And we've covered so much.
From personal challenges to relationships.
To the really big, tough stuff.
It all comes back to letting go.
And finding that freedom and empowerment that comes with it. I'm really curious to hear what Robbins has to say about applying this all to the workplace.
Right. The bonus guide for bosses.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our deep dive into the let them theory. Okay, final part of our let them theory deep dive. We've talked about relationships, stress, all that good stuff. But you mentioned there's a bonus in this book, right? A guide for bosses.
Yeah. Robbins actually includes a whole section for applying this theory in the workplace. And she even offers a free downloadable guide on her website.
Oh, cool. Because that's where a lot of us feel that pressure to control everything.
Absolutely. Right? Deadlines, projects, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So how does let them work when you're the one, in charge?
Well, one of the big things Robbins talks about is empowering your employees.
Okay.
Instead of micromanaging them.
So less my way or the highway.
It's more like trust and learning.
Yes. Giving people the autonomy to make decisions, even if they, mess up sometimes.
Because we all make mistakes.
We do. It's part of the process.
Right. It's how we learn.
And she talks about setting clear expectations.
Okay.
Communicating effectively, but then stepping back.
Letting the team figure things out.
Yeah. Kind of like that ABC loop we talked about.
Right. Ask questions, listen, then trust.
It seems to apply in all sorts of situations,
It does, whether it's your spouse, your friend, or someone you work with.
Human nature, I guess.
Yeah. And I bet this leadership style, it probably leads to a more I don't know, creative, innovative team.
Robbins says it does. When people feel empowered, they're more likely to, take risks.
Think outside the box.
Exactly. Come up with new solutions.
So it's not just about being the nice boss.
No.
It's actually like a more effective way to lead.
Yeah, it's about creating an environment where people feel supported, but also challenged.
Where they can grow. Exactly. And that applies to the leader too,
Oh, so it's not just about the team.
No. It's about shifting your own mindset as a leader.
From control to empowerment.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most important things about this whole let them theory,
What do you mean?
It's a reminder that we often think we have way more control than we actually do.
Especially in the workplace.
Right. But when we focus on what we can control,
Our own reaction.
our own choices,
That's where the real growth happens.
for everyone, the leader, the team, everyone.
So, big picture, what's your biggest takeaway from all this?
Honestly, for me, it's how connected everything is. Like this one idea, letting go, can impact every part of your life.
It's not just about work or relationships. It's
everything. It's about recognizing that we're all in this together,
I love that. It's not just about let them be.
Right.
It's about understanding that their journey is part of our journey too.
Exactly. And when we get that, when we really get that, I think it creates more compassion.
More understanding.
And ultimately, more joy.
I couldn't agree more. So, listeners, that wraps up our deep dive into Mel Robbins' Let Them theory.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We really hope this helped you see things in a new light, maybe gave you some tools to navigate those tricky situations we all face.
Remember, you have the power to create a life you love.
It all starts with letting go.
And embracing the journey.
Thanks for joining us.
恭喜你又听完了一本书，订阅以便不错过更多精彩节目，也别忘了分享给你的朋友，一起快乐听书学英语。